They were the terror of the medieval world, dragon-prowed ships appearing on the horizon, bringing warriors who seemed to fear nothing, not even death itself. For 3 centuries, the Vikings dominated the seas, raided coastal settlements, conquered territories, and established vast trade networks from North America to the Middle East. Then, almost as suddenly as they appeared, they vanished. The decline of the Vikings wasn't marked by a dramatic last stand or a decisive defeat. Instead, the fearsome raiders who once terrorized Europe gradually transformed through a series of interconnected factors that ultimately rendered their traditional way of life obsolete. Christianity's embrace proved to be one of the most significant factors. The conversion began slowly, with King Harald Bluetooth of Denmark around 965 CE, but gained momentum as Viking rulers recognized the political advantages of joining Christendom. By adopting the cross, Viking kings gained legitimacy among European monarchs and access to their power structures. The Church's influence slowly but surely eroded Old Norse traditions, replacing raids with trade and pagan rituals with Christian ceremonies. But religious conversion alone doesn't explain their disappearance. Climate change dealt a devastating blow to Viking expansion. During the medieval warm period, roughly 950–1250 CE, favorable conditions had allowed Norse settlers to thrive in places like Greenland and venture as far as North America. When temperatures began to drop during the Little Ice Age, these marginal settlements became unsustainable. The once navigable northern sea routes that had facilitated Viking exploration and trade froze over. Archaeological evidence reveals the tragic fate of Greenland's Viking colonies. Excavations showed desperate adaptations. They began burning valuable furniture for warmth and slaughtering their dairy cattle for food. By the early 15th century, the last Norse Greenlanders had either perished or abandoned their settlements. Their disappearance served as a grim harbinger for Viking culture as a whole. Political consolidation throughout Scandinavia also contributed to their fading. As Norse lands transformed from fragmented territories ruled by competing chieftains into centralized kingdoms, the economic model of raiding became politically inconvenient. Kings who sought recognition from European powers could no longer sanction the very activities that had defined Viking identity. Most intriguingly, the Vikings may have become victims of their own success. Their exceptional skill as traders and settlers led to their assimilation into the very societies they once raided. In Normandy, literally land of the Northmen, Viking settlers adopted French language and customs within a few generations. In the British Isles, Norse invaders intermarried with locals and melded into the population. In Russia, the Rus Vikings who founded Kyiv gradually adopted Slavic culture and language. The final blow came at Stamford Bridge in 1066. When Harald Hardrada, the last great Viking king, fell during his attempt to conquer England, it marked the symbolic end of the Viking Age. Just 3 weeks later, William the Conqueror, himself descended from Viking settlers in Normandy, would defeat the English at Hastings. A historical irony that showcased how thoroughly Viking identity had transformed. What makes the Viking disappearance so fascinating is that they didn't truly vanish. They evolved. Their genetic legacy lives on in populations across Northern Europe and beyond. Their linguistic influence permeates English with words like sky, anger, and Thursday, Thorsday. Their legal traditions shaped governance in places they settled, while their navigational innovations revolutionized medieval seafaring. Perhaps most enduring is their mythological legacy. The stories of Thor, Odin, and Loki continue to captivate modern imaginations, appearing in everything from Marvel movies to fantasy literature. The Vikings didn't disappear so much as transform, from raiders into rulers, from pagans into Christians, from outsiders into the establishment. Their story reveals how even history's most seemingly invincible forces ultimately adapt or fade away. The fearsome warriors who once made kings tremble eventually found that survival meant changing the very essence of what had made them Vikings in the first place. This transformation offers a powerful historical lesson. Cultures rarely end in dramatic last stands. Instead, they evolve, assimilate, and sometimes disappear so thoroughly into the fabric of other societies that we must look carefully to find their traces, even when those traces have shaped our world in profound and lasting ways.